Hello and welcome to another cheap and hopefully somewhat cheerful video. I bought a box of tools made in China. Let's see what I got. On one side of the table we have tools from the #1 DIY tool brand in Europe, and on the other side of the table we have tools that with the batteries cost a third of what I paid for the Parkside tools. So let's see if we can get away with paying a third of the price. And when I say a third of the price, everything here, including the batteries, cost a third of what the bare tools on the left cost. We've got impact wrenches, impact drivers, drills, and of course, screwdrivers. Everything here is from Lidl. Everything on this side is from places such as Aliexpress, Temu, Amazon, Shein, and any other cheap website you can think of. And now let me explain some of the tests. Of course, we will be doing the mandatory drilling. However, I've got another test in mind. I have assembled these 50cm rods, nylon locking nut on the end, and we will be trying to thread them through this sort of a wrench thing, with the idea of seeing which drill does it faster. Of course, that test will also be done with the impact drivers. I'll get the impact drivers to drive in some screws so we can see how they handle that as well. We will check out clutch settings. They've both got 21 of those. We'll drive some screws on settings 1, 5, 10, 15 and 20 and see how they handle that. And then of course, we will drill through some stuff. I will check the clutch settings on speed 1 on both, and then drilling will be performed, if they can, on speed 2. So the Parkside is faster. However, does that justify the cost, which is 2 times as much? The Parkside Performance C3 with a 4 amp battery, and we've got the Patoupro with a 4 amp battery from a Gisam. That's because it was cheaper to buy a Gisam with 2 batteries than it was with 1. So I went for the bare tool Patoupro and I used a Gisam battery on it. If you want to buy a tool and battery combo, that means that Patoupro will only, as far as I managed to find out, supply it with a 2 amp battery. And the 2 amp battery with the tool will come in at about €40. On the Parkside front, €40 battery, €60 tool. So €100 here. Now, of course, the Parkside drill has a 5-year warranty. This doesn't have one. However, I've tried and I've managed to buy spare parts for the Patoupro drill from Aliexpress. So keep that in mind. Let me know what you think down in the comments. Impact drivers, we've got Parkside and Gisam, both brushless. We've got the Parkside with a 4 amp battery. It will be set to 226 Newton meters, which is its max setting. The Gisam, now I like the design of this very much. I'll show you why. Well, it's a copy of a Makita, but I think it's a rather nice copy of a Makita. It's got this rather nice ring light here at the front. You can select modes from the front as well, and it will display on the back, or you can select them from the back here. Its party piece is that ring light. Let me show you. Look at how nice that is. Come on, Parkside, I want one of those on your tools. I paid €60 for the Gisam with 2 included batteries and a charger. Let me know if you think it's worth it. Next up, the angle grinders. In this case, I went with the Parkside angle grinder that has a button on top, which I like very much, and an angle grinder from Amazon. I think it was about €30. That's with the battery included and a charger, of course. From an ergonomic side, this protector here does look flimsy. However, I do like the button arrangement. Cheap and somewhat flimsy, however, let's see how it does. And of course, let's not forget the Parkside has 6 speed settings, and this has 3, which can be selected from down here. Of course, all will be on their max settings for the testing. We will be cutting through some steel and aluminium rods, some other steel and aluminium pieces, and one thicker piece of steel. Let's see how they do.
They ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine, but you just can't get into it because they would never understand.
In the end, the Amazon angle grinder managed to get through 7 cuts before it overheated and then decided to stop working altogether. Now it's been a couple of days and it has decided to start working again. And that's without me charging the battery, so the battery wasn't the problem, it's just overheated. Bear in mind that this is how it came out of the box, so it did have some scuff marks. Not very good packaging it was delivered in. For about a third of the price of this, what do you think? Will it do you any good? Let me know down in the comments. Now on to these two big boys. Parkside Performance High Torque Impact Wrench and Onevan High Torque Impact Wrench. 1,800 claimed newton meters. Now, I don't exactly have a way to test out 1,800 newton meters. However, I do have an idea. We'll do a pit stop challenge. The idea behind that is to test how easy they are to work with, as well as how quick they are. We'll tighten the wheel bolts on the car to 210 newton meters, and then we'll try and unscrew all 4 of them. And I'll even throw in the regular old 400 newton meter Parkside impact wrench, just as a reference.
Practice makes perfect.
And there we have it then. What do I think? Well, this is quite a lot lighter, so I think this is easier to handle and easier to get onto the bolts and then to undo them. Whereas this is quite heavy, which means that I have to think twice on how I'm placing it. I know this is faster. However, I think this is easier to work with just because of the weight. Of course, if I'm choosing between these two, this one for sure will be higher on my priority list. However, if I'm having to choose between the Onevan and the Parkside 400 Newton meter brushed impact wrench, I think I'm going with this one. And now let's see how they handle some bigger screws into a couple of pieces of wood. And this Parkside is starting to smell like burning brushes. Not a fan. And that's why I went with brushless tools wherever I could for this video. And now let's test out these. The cheapest Parkside screwdriver, which I bought for 19 euros, I believe. And this Temu screwdriver, which is about 5 euros. And you can reconfigure it to a different position. However, charging is with the older USB standard, USB-B, I believe. This, you can't really move about. However, you can charge it with your new iPhone charging cable. Now let me show you how I plan to test the screwdrivers. I've got a piece of wood here and both screwdrivers. Let me put this into position. So with each of the screwdrivers, I will be driving in some screws into this piece of wood. More specifically, 10 of these, which are 4 by 50 millimeters, and 10 of these, which are 5 by 50 millimeters. Let's see how they do. The batteries on both are fully charged. Screws in place, the 4mm ones and the 5mm ones. 3, 2, 1, and begin. And onto this one, for which I wouldn't mind if I paid a bit more for a couple of more vowels. This is rated at 250 RPM and 3.5 Newton meters, whereas the Parkside is rated at 200 RPM, I believe. Yep, and maximum 10 newton meters. 1.5 amps of battery power, and same on this one. And let's go. Magnet is not the strongest. We'll carry on.
6.5 hours later.
Is the battery dead already?
A few inches later. Day 2, Day 3, Day 4. 2,000 years later.
So much later that the old narrator got tired of waiting and they had to hire a new one.
Well, no on this one. Even if it was gifted to me, I'd say no thank you. The idea of this is to be able to assemble an IKEA table or something like that. I'm not sure this can withstand that. However, in any case, let's try it on the 5mm. This is what it managed to do. Parkside is at the back, and this thing is here on the front. Not ideal, is it? In any case, I'm a fair person. Let's give it a go on the 5mm screws. Come on. If you use it as a ratcheting screwdriver, it does something. But yeah, that's not useful at all, is it? Let's try the Parkside. Struggles at the end. For what it is, I think it's fair enough. Okay, so the Parkside didn't manage to get them all the way through. However, I think for what it does, it's not too bad because you can still screw these on with a screwdriver, a regular one, and it'll be all right. Whereas if you had this, well, you basically wouldn't use it because you'd have to start with the screwdriver from the top and then screw it down to the bottom. So, no on this one. And I'm not even going to ask you to tell me down in the comments because it's that much of a no. And now let's talk about the elephant in the room. This is the type of charger you get with tools from Temu Aliexpress or any other such site. It says on it that it charges at 1 amp per hour. However, I think that's a lie, because some 4 amp batteries I've needed to charge for 6 or even 7 hours with this. So, in order to see what's going on, I've got a new special camera, which will help us see how the electrons move in the charger. As I suspected, it's not a rapid charger by any means, is it? If you enjoyed the video, please give it a like. It does help out a lot. Or feel free to watch one of these other videos.